Yesterday we heard of the first patch notes from Bethesda, but one line in particular stood out and made me realise that perhaps Starfield will be a much bigger game than a lot of us anticipated. And no, I'm not talking about creations and mod support. But before we get into that, let's cover a little about Starfield in its opening week. With over 6 million people playing the game by the end of its first official day of release, Starfield appears to have broken Microsoft's records for the biggest launch day of an Xbox Game Studios title ever. This is a huge success and no doubt in part due to the day one release on Game Pass, which could be a key indicator of the future of Starfield's content. Despite the game being such a success, we have seen numerous reviews, both good and bad. That being said, I will be sharing my own personal review 100 hours on within the next week or so, by which point I'll no doubt be at 200 hours in the game. I think we're already at 130 or 140. But at this point, we do need to let the dust settle a little and start to see the average concurrent players after the hype has died down from the release week. That being said, the Steam's community post points to some good points, including some hotfixes that were definitely needed. Firstly, there are some improvements to performance and stability, notably on the Xbox Series X and S, that were related to installations, and on top of that, some all-round improvements to stability and performances that will help reduce crashes and improve frame rate. Surprisingly, I've yet to have any crashes with over 100 hours in the game, but I shan't complain at any improvements that they're bringing to the overall stability. My biggest issues are with bugs at the moment, and I was surprised to see a bug that prevented the Into the Unknown mission starting had been squished. However, this particular bug only fixes the quest from not appearing after you've completed the game, so it doesn't fix my issue, as I can't start the quest and I've yet to complete the game, hence why I've recently started over. They also fixed an issue with the quest All That Money Can Buy that could result in a quest blocker based on player activity, and finally, the shadows in Neon quest blocker has been fixed as well. It's actually great to see them working on patching the game so soon. Even if it isn't patching the quest blocker that I'm dealing with, it at least provides some reassurance and insight that Bethesda are working on fixing the major issues as soon as possible with the game, and I presume we can expect more patches as soon as they're ready to release them. However, that wasn't the last of the interesting information. They've mentioned that they're wanting to release regular interval updates that have been top requested features by the community, such as video controls, FOV sliders, DLSS support, and an eat button for food. To be honest, these should all have been added straight from the release, along with city maps as well. But it's good to know that they're listening to the community, and it gives me more hope for the future of the game, and hopefully we'll also have some transport on planets as well, whether that's a land speeder, a hover bike, I don't know, I need that. I need that for exploration. They also went on to talk about mod support through creations, which was mentioned in a previous interview as the first big update that they plan for Starfield, and I'm happy to see this is important to them. After all, it's mod developers that will be there continuing to create incredible content to play for the game way after the devs put the game on the back burner to focus on the next big release. Just look at the team working on Sky Oblivion mod, who have put so much work into rebuilding Oblivion, which was released back in 2006. A project that is really enticing me to rejoin the world of Tamriel and replay Oblivion. Of course, it'll be made that little bit more relaxing with the lo-fi vibes you can find from my Spotify page, which if you're interested in listening to yourself, you can find a link to that in the description below. Now, I must admit, I am concerned that they want to monetize mods through the Creations platform, but I'm hopeful that they'll do what's best for the community, and we can expect that early next year. So does this mean that the first big DLC for the game, Shattered Space, will also come at that point, or is that going to be for a later date? However, all of this news aside, there is one huge piece of information that is easily missed. The single line that they will be supporting Starfield for years and years to come. Now, this is truly exciting, and I'm led to believe it's much bigger than most people have considered, because if we look at Skyrim, we had 3 major DLCs. Fallout 4, we had 6 major DLCs. Does this mean that we can expect the same for Starfield? Now, I don't think that's the case, if I'm honest. The big difference Starfield has compared to Skyrim and Fallout 4 is that the full release was available to Game Pass from day one. And that's a subscription service which doesn't allow you to play the game if you unsubscribe. This means that in order for Starfield to keep the player interest and to keep making money for the game, they will have to undergo regular updates, enticing players to stay that extra month. We see it often in MMO games as well, so one that is easy to reference, I guess, in this particular case would be The Elder Scrolls Online. And if we look at the game's update history, then we can hopefully get an idea as to what Bethesda will plan for Starfield. After all, if the game continues to be as successful as they've suggested it is, then why wouldn't they continue to bring out new content? Elder Scrolls Online has had almost 40 updates across its lifespan of 9 years, including 6 major expansions, and even Fallout 76 has 16 updates so far, as well as a 17th one planned, which to me is really exciting for the future of Starfield. Sure, Starfield isn't a massively multiplayer online game, but I believe this could be the approach that they're going to have with DLCs. Who knows if they're all going to be paid for or if they're going to be free. I'm expecting probably a mix, the community features being free and then the proper big DLCs being paid for, but I'm okay with that. I've honestly been incredibly impressed by Starfield to date, but there have been a few bugs and various features that I feel should have been added from the start that have really held the game back. But between the promised small community-focused feature updates and some no doubt big expansions, Starfield could really grow into its own shoes and deliver on all of its promises. And that I can get behind. But what do you think about DLCs? Are you expecting a few, or do you see this game receiving more updates than previous titles? And if so, what do you think they have planned? If you have enjoyed my little breakdown, please do hit the thumbs up, and if you want to keep up to date with more Starfield news and guides, make sure to subscribe. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Solarclipse patrons, James Irwin, Firefless and Trebor, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben, Star and That Dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is the Viking Brit. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.